Welcome to the Curious Mind podcast, and especially to the third part in my therapy recording sessions. I discuss with my client Anna her family situation, her feeling of belonging, the question of home, and especially the question of how to reconnect with her family. This is the third part of 6, which means that now we have the second session. In the previous session, Anna already started to reflect on her family situation, and in this part she deepens her reflections, in particular her relationship to her siblings, how she would like to approach them, the different needs that she has, and how she perceives her place in the family dynamic. The purpose of this series is to introduce the audience to what therapeutic conversations can look like. In particular, because of this specific case, I take a more systemic approach, which is very much based on the reflections on relationship, in particular family relationships in this case, and to have the personal needs as one element that feeds into the reflections on how the relationships should be framed. Okay, so welcome to our second session. Last time, for the first session, we started to reflect on some aspects of your background, some aspects of your feelings and attitudes towards the US, that it's not a clean-cut home for you, as it probably was when you were younger. And maybe as a consequence of our conversation, you had some thoughts that are interesting for you.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it sat with me for a few days, the
Hmm.
last, because like I said, I was not used to talking to someone in such an open way and revealing things that I don't normally talk about. So yeah, it was just making me think a little more about my family and ways that I can try to communicate to them
Hmm.
to have what I thought of this yesterday, to have like a digital family, because or virtual family.
Yeah.
Like, we have to like change the way we have relationships with families when we don't live together, and we're doing everything online. Like yesterday, I sent a message to my sister like, hey, why don't you send me more pictures of you guys, because that would make me feel like connected a bit
Hmm.
more. So she said she would, because that's something that she didn't really think about before. But I'm like, it would be really fun
Mm-hmm.
to see pictures, because they don't post pictures. I'm like, so I feel really, you know, cut off.
Yeah.
So things like that.
How many years are you apart, you and your sister?
6 years. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you mean like in
Yeah,
age?
yeah, in age, yes. Mm-hmm.
In age, 4 years. We're four
4 years.
years apart. I haven't seen her in 6 years. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Okay. 4 years, so that's an age
I'm
difference
older.
where you didn't
Mhm.
have the same friend group, I guess, right? How was it
No,
when you did?
yeah, not really, but we were still like together. We even shared a room at sometimes,
Oh, right.
'cause we're two. Yeah. So,
Yes.
and she has children, I have a child, so like we can connect
Mm-hmm.
a little more.
And
Hmm.
then you have a brother, is that correct?
Yeah, I have a brother, and he and I are a little over a year apart.
Hmm.
So we grew up a little more like, following each other in school and stuff.
Yes. And you described last time that in terms of the whole family and maybe towards your parents, you felt like an outsider at least. You were
Yeah.
the eldest sibling, so I guess you had more responsibilities or different responsibilities than the
Hmm.
others, and that then something in your image broke when you were 21 and
Right.
got
Hmm.
pregnant and married, and then
Hmm.
eventually moved away. Before that, how is the so that is towards the parents mostly. How did you perceive yourself in regards to your siblings? Was there less of an artificial or a wrong image of you? Could you be more natural with them? How was that?
Y- Yeah, I think that, generally we grew up close. We had a normal sibling relationship. Like one day I hate you, next day I love you. It was
Mm,
like, just normal stuff. I have positive connections with them from my childhood.
hmm.
And especially because we all moved together. So it's like a bonding experience. So, like, my sister and I bonded even more when we moved, and we had to share a room at one point in a family member's house, and it was just very stressful. So
Yeah.
she and I like bonded together during that.
Hmm.
And I never like I don't have we've never had bad words or jealousy issues or anything like that. I always supported them. They would tell me secrets and I never reveal it. It was always very like positive. And I think that moving away kind of hurt them because they didn't have, you know, that other person in the family to kind of go to and to like, bond over all these other crazy family members and situations.
Right. Yes.
So,
Even though I know examples where people move away and then make it a point to maintain a close relationship by calling
yeah.
often. So it might not be kind of the most intuitive thing to do,
Hmm.
but it is possible. And I guess it depends more on how to set it up and how the others feel about that as well, if that
Yeah.
was one of your wishes.
Right. Yeah. I really I tried reaching out, especially to my brother, with messages, but he doesn't really he's just not an online person, and my
No.
sister is so busy that it's just easy for them to just say, "No, I'm not going on online or on Skype or I don't have time."
Mm,
And I get that to some degree, but sometimes I'm like, would be nice to have a conversation.
yes.
And
So that is
yeah.
also in regards to video calls. Also, that is
Yeah.
too abstract for them.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's hard because it's like I'll make the effort.
Yes.
I'm busy and stuff. So it's really hard to empathize with them on that. Because my brother doesn't have any children. With my sister, at least she has children and she's really, really busy. So I
Mm.
kind of, accept that a bit. And she'll message me from time to time. But my brother, absolutely not. It's like
Mhm.
cut off. Like, yeah.
As far as you know, how are they involved in the family narrative about you? So there's a certain image that your parents might have, and maybe there's a difference between them as well.
Yeah.
But do you have any idea in how much your siblings kind of share this attitude? For example, of she moved away, it's her responsibility to call and to make efforts,
Yeah. I
or
think that
do they stay away from that? Are they more free from those kind of images and ideas about
I
you?
didn't, I don't know, honestly. I don't know. Maybe because we never had a falling out. Maybe this is one of those situations where having an argument is healthy.
Hmm.
you know, because it's like they're just so cool and laid back to the point where you don't even know, like, well, how do you feel about this? Like, obviously you're exhibiting signs of not being happy with the situation,
Hmm.
but it's not coming out even as like, how dare you? Like, what's wrong with you? And then talking about it, and then hopefully just like moving on from it. But there's not even that. There's like, it's so
Yeah.
like around like uneventful, you know.
Yes. And this is ambivalent, right? Because at least I wouldn't know exactly how to interpret that. Is that okay? So I'm
Yeah,
kind of meaningless to your life? Is that what it means? Or you're just
yeah,
busy? Or
right.
you wish that I take initiative? What does it mean? So silence as
Yeah,
such does not tell much, right?
no, and not in this situation because then my imagination runs wild and I'm
Mm.
thinking, oh, they think this, and maybe I'm just imprinting something that's not there. And we just never had the that level of openness with each other. Because like we've always talked about family members, like, can you believe what
Right.
mom said? Or, and we bonded in that way, like siblings should, but
Mhm.
we never had arguments with each other.
Yes.
And maybe that should, like we had, oh, you touched my toy kind of thing, but nothing serious.
Hmm.
No major drama, and maybe sometimes that's needed so that they understand, like, you know
Yeah, I'm not sure about the drama, but is there a theme maybe of avoidance between you,
yeah,
or maybe is it a family thing? How
I
do
think
you?
it's a family thing. We
Yes.
don't we don't we don't really embrace emotional problems. Both my parents come from families of alcoholism,
Mm.
and so they were used to pushing aside and hiding things. Now,
Hmm.
with my family, like my parents, thankfully, were not, that. They were very conscious of being good to their kids. But by doing so, it's like anytime we talk about emotional things, it's very uncomfortable
Hmm.
for everybody. Yeah.
Yes. Which brings me to, I think, a leading question in this topic, which is, so we talked about how you wish to reestablish a more close connection, right?
Yeah.
In one way or another. And the question that I have uh, is, as who do you want to reestablish that connection? And there is no simple answer to that. And just
Yeah.
to give you an idea of what I mean, there is a spectrum to that. Like one of end of the spectrum is, okay, let me reintroduce myself to my parents and my siblings just as they remember me before I left. Because
Mm.
then I can connect to their image of me, and then they will have kind of less problems to understand who I am. And this will
Mm-hmm.
give me the best guarantee that they will be willing to have a closer connection with me again. The other end of the spectrum is, no, I changed and I don't want to put on a mask just in order to please them, so that they maybe please want to have contact with me again. If I want closer contact, I want to have it just as who I am right now, without compromising and without trying to please them, so that there
Mm-hmm.
is, a higher probability for an outcome. So I make it conditional. If this kind of condition is not met, then I rather not have the contact at all. So these, I think, are the two extremes there. And
Mm-hmm.
it would be interesting to reflect with you, where I don't expect at all that you have a ready answer for that. I think it's a process to come to a point, to a position of comfort there. But to start this conversation of, where do you think you would like, as who do you think you would like to start to reestablish the
Yeah.
connection?
Well, definitely with my brother and sister, I want them to see me as who I am, and kind of and want to learn something about me
Hmm.
in my life, and ask questions, and just yeah, I live in a foreign country, and they rarely ask me anything about the country I'm living in,
Yes.
and that's just crazy for me, because I would, if they moved to another country, I would be so interested, and want to hear so many things, but it's like they don't ask anything. So,
Yes. So then, how does it look? To contact them as you are right now.
no,
Do you
it's
think
very
it maybe it's not
generic.
not not appealing maybe to them? What do you think?
No, I think it's just so generic. It's just like, they want to hear, of course, things with my son.
Hmm.
As a mom, they see me for sure, like I'm mom, right? Which is great. Like that is one role I play. But other things, like it yeah, they just simply don't dive into it. They don't really know things that I've seen, my friends here. Sometimes, and this is so wild, but I've made friends here that I feel closer with, like as brother or sister, like
Hmm.
relationship, than my own real brother and sister.
Yes.
That's wild. Like
Yeah.
where yeah, I feel like, oh my God, you're like a brother to me, or
Hmm.
like a sister. in a stronger way than my own brother and sister. They know more about me.
Okay, so this is the important element there. They know more
Yeah,
about me, which is specifics of you, your interests, your goals, your doubts,
yeah,
something like this that we often share with friends, maybe more than with some family members.
yeah.
So, what is the kind of what is the connection? What's the depth of a connection with your siblings? If it's not the particulars, the specifics that they know about you,
Yeah, yeah. There's really nothing else.
is there no other
There's, you
level
know, and I,
than knowledge about each other to a connection?
yeah, I think at this point, yes. You know, and um, I tried, especially when I lived there. I really tried um, to go on like lunch dates with my brother and just ask him about his work and ask him about his stuff. And
Hmm.
but it was never reciprocated. So it was, I guess it makes it easy for me to then stop trying because it's
Right.
just, you're not feeling it from their side. So it's like, well, it's a dead
Yes.
end.
Yes. So this happens when we offer something and we don't see the same interests in return,
Yeah.
right?
hmm I think that they had to deal with stuff just like I did growing up, and everyone deals in their own way, and they come out of it in a different way. Look at like same family, three different individuals, but each responding in a different way
Mm-hmm.
to our life. And I think for them, it's like my sister, she's just completely involved with her own personal family, like her children, which is fine, but to the point where she has no life outside of her family. Like there's nothing, she doesn't have hobbies, there's nothing. It's just family stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then my brother, it's just work. He's just so involved with work. He's, in his world, job wise. And then family is just like to the side. So I have two ends of the
Yes.
extreme,
I
and
understand that, but
it.
at the same time, my experience tells me that everyone wants connection and everyone wants love, if that is possible.
Mhm,
Uh, and it would surprise me if they were any different in that respect. So
mhm,
I wonder then, when you connect with them, can you connect to this need that they have? Or is there some
mhm,
reason that you are not the person for them to satisfy this need of closeness, trust, all of these things that we eventually we hope for, right? Because
yeah,
all of us, we have to play the roles, and as a school parent, as a worker, as all of these things, and then we'd like to have those safe havens of connections and people where we can drop all these and
mhm,
just exchange kindness, and not to have those performance requirements put on us, right?
mhm, yeah.
So yeah, I guess my question is, can you imagine that you can be that person for them?
Mm, I don't know, because like I mean, I know that I would want to, but I don't know if they want to. You know, like like if it's more comfortable for them to just not have to think about me too much, it's
Mhm.
easier for them. But for me, I would love to. I love the idea of family, and I want my son to feel like, oh, I have an uncle and aunt in America,
Yes.
and his cousins to be closer. And just it's just so wild that I was like kind of excluded from their lives, and how easy it was for them, at least from my perspective, how easy it was for them to just kind of do that.
Yes.
And that's hurtful.
Yes. Yes. And there's an apparent easiness, and I don't think it's clear yet if it was really easy or if it's an expression of the way to deal with conflicts in your family of origin, which is
Hmm
not to look at it or not to deal with it or not to express it. maybe to feel it, but not to
Yeah.
express. So there's a possibility there.
Right.
How to find out?
Yeah.
Because you had a strategy in the past. It sounds like you had the strategy of casual connection and kind of to be nice about it. This is what it sounds like to me. And that kind of slipped away somehow, was not taken up. It was not
Yeah.
by them. So I think it makes sense to maybe start a new strategy in order to see what kind of needs they
Mm-hmm.
have regarding you.
True. Yeah. And that's hard to do when you're in another country because it's like, well,
Yes.
they don't like going online. They don't really read messages and stuff. Well, that cuts off a lot of a lot of the ways that I can communicate to you. So
Yes.
it, that's hard. I used to be the one that would like stir up humor and jokes, and we'd make fun and have a good laugh about life,
Mhm.
and especially our family. That was how we dealt with things, through humor. Um, and I don't know if we can maintain that energy online.
Could you imagine? I wonder, speaking about the role that you had, can you imagine to communicate to them and be writing or Skype eventually to tell them, look, I need you guys.
Yeah.
So not to have kind
Yeah.
of a casual, it's like, hey, let's connect a bit more, or let's exchange pictures because it would be nice, but more
Yeah.
to make clear, look, I, I need family, and you are my family, and I need you. Would that be very contrary to the role that you have had in
Mm-hmm.
the past?
Oh yeah. Yeah. First off, it would be showing me in a point of vulnerability
Hmm.
as their older sister that I never really gave them, because I was always the one that had to help with their stuff, you know.
Yes.
There were moments that of course they did help me, but overall I was always like the leader in
Hmm.
some ways. It's normal for the firstborn. That's, the role that they play. And
Yes.
and now I'd be coming to them like, hey guys, can you help me? Can you in I That's my problem, that I've never asked that. Maybe I should, you know, because it doesn't matter when you're an adult now, who's firstborn, who's second, whatever. Like, we're all adults now, and the playing field should be even at this point. They have life experiences that
Hmm.
I don't have, and they can share with me.
Yes.
So,
Theoretically, I agree, but there is just this thing that we have developed habits, and especially in family dynamics, and habits that are not very conscious. So whereas if they
hmm
got to meet, a new friend that is 4 years or 2 years older, they would not hesitate to be as they are and to see it as an, symmetrical equivalent relationship. There might be this deep-rooted experience of seeing you differently because they have this experience of you being in a particular role in the past. You were the responsible
hmm
one, you helped the parents out, you were there to listen, and as you say now, you showed no vulnerability.
hmm yeah,
So it's
yeah.
possible that they would
Like,
just never come to the idea that, oh, maybe we should treat her as an
yeah.
equal and reach out. Maybe she needs something. How does she feel abroad? Doesn't she miss the
hmm
family? Maybe she's just too proud or unaware to say. Which, thoughts that would come to us when we deal with friends, but maybe not with the older sibling.
Maybe. Yeah, I never thought of that. Even when I was going through the breakdown of my marriage and stuff, they never contacted me to see, like, hey, do you need
Hmm.
to have a talk or anything?
Yes. So then, yeah, well, you expressed enough that this was disappointing, I'm sure. Have that did that surface once in a while, this disappointment, or is this the avoidance of conflict that you have that
Mm-hmm.
kind of your unconscious didn't let it come up too much.
Yeah, yeah. I probably never did my part in telling them, hey, like, why didn't you ask me how I was feeling? Like, I also feel stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
I never did. When I lived there, I tried to hang out with them and whatnot, but we never got into deep conversation about my situation and the breakdown of my marriage and cultural depression. These are things they couldn't relate with me. So I didn't talk about it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Let me ask a question to, the opposite end of the spectrum. Why do you want any close connection with them? Just because you're siblings? Just because you're nominally a family?
Yeah, I think that, because I think of our childhood and we did have fun times. There was something special that happened.
Yes.
And I just think, wow, wouldn't it be great if if we could carry that into adulthood?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're getting emotional now. Can you tell me why?
I don't know.
Mm.
I'm not used to talking about that.
Yeah. There is what is apparent is the loss that is there. That there was a time when you felt connected. And then something which is seemingly trivial, just to move location, would have had the
Yeah,
effect of just stopping that, of cutting that off.
right. I feel like if I was more connected with my brother and sister, then I have a future in the family, right? Because
Yes.
if it's just mom and dad, it's like, to be realistic, like
Hmm.
one day they're going to be gone, right? And then what?
Yes. Yes. And going back to the idea of family,
So
yes, please go ahead.
so I would like to strengthen it now while we still have our youth and all these interesting things happening in our lives, and we can still share. It would be fun.
Hmm. Well, and there's more than fun, right? I mean, it shows you're very involved now emotionally with this topic, and
Yeah.
I just want to highlight what it is more, because it is more than fun. It's not just, okay, I want to have someone to exchange pictures with. That is not what is the deeper rooted need that you have. Can you point your
Hmm.
finger at it more kind of clearly of what the particular need you have for connecting with them in contrast to connecting with other people that you just feel nice with and you want to be friends with? What's
Yeah.
the difference there?
I don't know. Maybe I'm idealistic. Maybe I think, well, because we shared this wonderful childhood, and even through bad times, we were still like, fairly close, that we can continue it. And maybe they can come here one day and visit me, and how much fun that would be.
Mhm.
And I can teach them things about this culture that I live in, and show them things that they've never experienced because they're just so like in a bubble, I would say. Like they don't really experience very much. And it breaks my heart because they just live like this routine life. And I don't want that for them. I want them to be like, oh my God, I can go here and check out this or try this new food or something. Because
Mhm.
that's the type of person I am, right? And
Yeah.
I think it's really hard for them to connect with me because I'm like, why not? I eat sushi. Like I had to teach my sister to like sushi.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun. Like it was nice having those sushi dates and stuff, but you know, if I'm not there, they don't do that stuff.
Yes. Okay, I would like to take those different bits apart, because what you said now is the argument of what I hear is I want to continue to be the big sisters for them. I want to
Yeah,
continue to open their minds, to have new experiences, and so on. So this particular need is I want to be there for them. And I want to be
yeah,
maybe also regarded and acknowledged as the elder sister who makes these things happen, who opens the mind, who gives new impulses, and so on. So that is one. But then on the other hand, I also see the need that you, where you need them, where you would
hmm,
like to get something for them, where you're in the weak position, where you would like them to show you something, to give you something. And I'm not saying
yeah,
it's either either or. The many different needs that, I mean, family is notorious for that. That we couple many different and often contradictory needs in one package, and maybe this is kind of the madness aspect of family, that they're so entangled,
yeah.
those different needs.
I'm sure.
But what I what I sense, in talking to you is that you need them. This is
Hmm.
more this is the more intense part that I feel. So this was the first part of the second session. Please come back at the next episode to continue to follow Anna's development in her question of family reconnection.